it's been a while since I've had to do a tractor video because the thing has just been running perfect. Been using it the last year, hauling stuff, pulling logs around, just having a good time. It's just been super reliable. Yesterday I was heading to the dump, and as I was coming back, it's like, man, something's rattling there on the motor. Bent down, looked, and I could see the fan wiggling a little bit, shut it off, grabbed onto it, and wow, we had a lot of slack in the bearings in the water pump. So we're going to get a water pump put on it today. The only place that had a water pump local was Tractor Supply, their County Line brand. And as I was looking through the reviews on the water pump, which it had really good reviews, one guy mentioned do yourself a favor and pull the hood off to do the project, which makes sense. I mean, I'm sure you could do it without pulling the hood, but being able to get straight into the water pump would certainly be handy. Plus, I've been wanting to do some body work, fill in the panel here, got some rust, so I can start doing body work on the hood. Also, while I'm doing this, since I'm not running a fan shroud, I picked up a 6-blade fan. It's probably last year sometime. Picked up a 6-blade fan. We're going to install it. Even though I didn't have any overheating problems over the summer with no shroud, I don't do plowing or anything that's going to really work the tractor. But we'll put the 6-blade fan on, the 4 blades, pretty beat up and old. We'll get in there, do the body work. Also, time change this weekend. I'm losing an hour of daylight in the evening, so I need to get the lights put on here. I've had lights as long as I've had the 6-blade fan, so I need to get those installed so I can play with the tractor after dark. So, I'm done talking. I'll get this hood pulled off and we'll take a look at that water pump. I'm going to go ahead and completely pull the radiator because I know out in my parts box somewhere I've got new pads to go under the bottom and the new proper bolts because I had to kind of fabricate all that stuff the last time. Alright, that's got us full access to the front. Now while I'm no expert, that looks like excessive play. There's a bolt back in here that goes through the plate that goes behind the water pump. The way that bracket fits around there on the alternator, it doesn't let the alternator move back quite far enough to get the belt off, since it is a pretty deep groove belt. Well, instead of undoing any more on that, I'm just going to take the 2 nuts off the studs coming out of the block and just take the whole alternator assembly off there. That should let that slide out. There we go. See, the alternator was hitting on this bracket and this bracket was hitting the side of the engine. I'm thinking that needs re-engineered. That lets the belt come out. Oh yeah. It's a little sloppy. And we'll look at the new water pump here. It's easier to see. We've got this plate on the back. The top bolt here just goes through the plate. So that leaves 3 mounting bolts that actually go into the block. And since I'm replacing the fan, I'm not going to worry about separating the fan from the pump. Uh-oh. Pulled the socket off and lost it down in the hole. There we go. It seems like Dad had this water pump replaced at one point, because I remember the tractor going to making a bunch of racket. Oh, these are studs coming out of the engine. But I remember the tractor making a bunch of racket, and it was the fan getting into the track. That has been a long time ago. Okay, the nuts are off. Got a bucket down there. Pull this loose. Get a little coolant come out. Might be a lot of coolant come out, since I didn't drain the block. Yeah, lots of red silicone. And there's the plate. It's actually in pretty good shape. Could be reused, but I do have a new one with the pump, so. Right there. You can see how bad that was wobbling. It's a wonder it just wasn't shooting coolant everywhere. Okay, right now I'm double nutting the studs so I can get those pulled out of the block. They don't look too bad. I would definitely use new nuts, probably find some new studs or use bolts. One or the other. Now comes the stud and more coolant. Okay, now that the studs are pulled out, I move the coil out of the way. Shoved an old sock in the hole there to keep debris from going in the engine. You know how I am with the old socks. Don't let them go to waste. I'm going to clean off the front of the engine now so we can get the new pump mounted. Alright, we got the plate on there with a gasket on each side. I used some stuff called Hylamar Blue. It's a really good, I think it's polyurethane style adhesive. Make sure to wear gloves because it is super sticky just as soon as it starts to tack up. But it's good for sealing about anything. Put some on the bolt threads because I did end up going with bolts. Couldn't find any studs that I liked. So we'll run those in with bolts. That Hylamar Blue, you put it on your gasket and the surfaces and let the solvent evaporate. It comes out as a real light blue liquid, but then just as soon as the solvent starts evaporating, it gets sticky. So we'll put this on and tighten it up. Okay, we'll tighten these down. And don't forget your bolt on the top, on the back side that holds the top of the plate. Ooh, doesn't wiggle. Okay, if you end up doing like I did and using bolts, and those bolts were 5/16, 18 by 1 inch long. I got some with the flange head to give it a little more support without having to use a washer. Works perfect. All right, now that I got the pump on there, I'm going to scrub the front of this engine up. Probably give the pump and the front a little shot of paint. I mean, I am just going to try to slick the tractor up, make it look as good as possible, but I'm never doing a complete tear down paint job because I just use it too much. And it just, there's no point. But I do want to make it look as good as possible. I did run into one little issue when I was cleaning. We've apparently had an epoxy repair job right there. And they had it smeared all the way up to here. I don't see any damage there. It must be in that groove. And my first thought was just rip the cover off, clean all that out and weld it up, but I haven't had this apart. I'm assuming the distributor shaft, the bottom of it goes down in here for support from the gear, would be my guess. I don't know why they made that dip in the case. And the thing is, if I screw that up trying to weld it where that shaft goes through, then the tractor's down. And I don't have a gasket or anything right now, so I think I'm going to just put some more epoxy weld in there, because that's been in there for who knows how long and hasn't been leaking. So I'll just patch it for now, and I'll probably be on the lookout for a whole new cover. And then I don't have to worry about trying to repair it. I made a new little patch there out of JB Quick Steel. That should hold till I can get a new cover or fix this one, whatever. While that's curing, figured I'd work on the hood here. It needs a lot of work. First thing I'm going to do is take the gas tank out. Never had the tank out on this. We got 2 bolts there that hold this back lip up against this piece of channel. And then on the front of the tank's lip sets on top of the channel up there. So you just got 1 bolt to keep it from bouncing up and down. So take those 3 out. Should be able to pivot out and down from the back. Well, the tank came out just as planned. The only problem was the forward, or in this case, where it was at the bottom. So that's got a large hole there, and I assume there was probably a big flat washer there. The whole assembly was loose. So apparently the flat washer was gone. The bolt was down inside that hole, and I couldn't get it shoved up enough to get underneath it. So I ended up I couldn't get a socket on, so I ended up cutting that bolt off. It's laying right there. The other 2 came out no problem. They were the Castle nuts. Cotter pins, because I mean, you don't want your gas tank falling down on your hot engine. I'll probably just use regular lock nuts. Something on there when it goes back together. But yeah, now I can get in there and at least pressure wash, probably sand the inside of the hood. The tank needs some work on the outside, but fortunately the inside of the tank is like beautiful shape. Never gave me any trouble. There's no rust in there, so that's good. But I've got rust on both sides of the hood right there where they all rust. Even worse over here. And I think one of the main things I'm going to do today is weld in a panel to cover this hole here, because I don't use that air cleaner anymore, and just sand the hood down, make it look a little more presentable, along with cleaning the insides. I never had it apart like this before, but it's certainly not hard to tell why those sides rust out. You got this piece of channel here, and then dirt and water can collect right on the back side and rust right through. Another thing I may fix on the hood is this ledge right here. Got that on both sides, and there's a reinforcement piece behind, and then the sheet metal on the outside. But that lip catches right on the bottom of this, and when you're trying to take the hood off, you've got to pull that back and get it up across there. And when that's happening, it's pulling against the radiator neck. If that was flat across the bottom, that would just set down in there, and then you bolted it up solid. So I'm going to get rid of that little ridge on the back, just because I definitely intend to paint this, because I mean, that's what you see when you're sitting in the driver's seat. And taking the hood on and off, you're going to scuff it all up if you're not extremely careful. By having that lip gone, it'll be a lot easier. So that's something I can grind off and TIG up while I've got the welder over here. All right, we got everything back on the front of the engine. New 6-blade fan. Gave everything a little quick coat of paint. Definitely not show quality, but it's a go tractor. I'll just keep working my way down the side, cleaning stuff, because I'd like to take that intake manifold, or I'd like to take the manifold off fix some leaks on the valve covers underneath. I'm gonna check the valves. I did go ahead and paint the timing cover, but when I find a new timing cover, I intend to have it shiny aluminum in there. No more aluminum is on the tractor. Might as well make it look good. So right now, that's all done. Start working on this mess. Well, the hood is back inside from its first bit of cleaning. You can see I got quite a bit of rust there. There's some back here along there too. I know somebody on eBay well, it wasn't on eBay, it was on Facebook, I think, was selling replicated pieces for these. I might have to get a hold of him if I don't want to build them myself. First thing I'm going to do right now. Oh, I did have a little bit of sand, and I've got an attachment to shoot sand through the pressure washer. So I hit the hard to get spots with that, like around the Ford deal there. I think I'll take that off for the time being. It's just got a couple of speed nuts on the back. Right now, before I do anything else to it, I want to weld this hole up. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in and trim a lot of that extra on the inside, get rid of the bolt holes, leave just a little bit of a lip. Then we will get a piece of sheet metal, fit it to the hole, and TIG it in there. Got the holes all trimmed out. I left a little bit of a flange on the inside. That'll just strengthen the sheet metal. I can trim it down once I've got it welded in there. But now I need to find a piece of sheet metal, cut it to fit in the hole. And we got a piece of sheet metal. Been working on it a little bit. Just shaving it down a little bit at a time on the belt sander to get it to fit right in under that lip, so it's not sticking out past this. We want to get it as close to level as possible. Right now I'm going to start bending that top edge around to contour it to the side. Well, after numerous trips back and forth, grinding and fitting, it's in there pretty good. The only place that a little bit of issue is it's poking out a little right there on that top, so I think I'll start tack welding down here on the bottom, get it fairly solid there, then I'll gently massage that down in there with a hammer, and then I should be able to finish welding. Alright, I started laying a bead down there. Got this pulled in with the clamp, put a little weld up here. This will all be even or slightly below the surface of the hood. And then there's just a spot right here that I need to hammer in to lower it down. Okay, the panel's welded in there. I think I'll flip it up on its side, do a little grinding on the inside, then smack it around with a hammer a little bit, grind this down, then it'll be ready for a little filler. A little bit of hammer and dolly work, and I knocked a bunch more crap out of this thing. Of course, this side here, right below where I put the patch in, is just ate up pretty much all the way along there. But that's a problem for another day. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. A little low right along here, but the rest of it's pretty much spot on across there. So, this hood does have a lot of rust. You know, in this section here where all the dirt accumulates. I briefly thought about just getting another hood. But a lot of them apparently don't fit very good. Plus the price of buying it, and they don't have the raised Ford emblem on the side, so I think right now what I'm going to do is flip this upside down, coat the inside with some rust converter over there to prevent rust on the inside, and then we'll get it put back on the tractor to where I can use it, and then I'll just work on these spots as I get time. It's not like I can't hammer out some metal to duplicate that raised section. TIG them in, a little bit of filler, she'll look good. But as I said, I can do that with it on the tractor and still be using it. So I'll probably, once I get it on there, I'll probably shoot some primer on the outside here just to keep it from rusting. Plus work on that a little more. All right, we got the inside all brushed down with the rust killer. And when I took the tank out, I mentioned that the front one had one bolt hole in it. Well, there's 3 bolt holes. And the tank has 3 holes. And this one here is the one that got wallered out and had the nut kind of captured down inside of it. That's why I had to cut it off. When I did clean up the tank a little more, gave it a quick shot of paint. So what I did was take a piece of bar stock, weld some bolts in it. The tank will go on top of this brace. Then this will slide through, and I can put the nuts on the bottom, and that will hold the tank really good, won't pull through anymore. Now I'm ready to set the tank back in there. Front end slides under, and sets on there. All right, the tank's back in place with new hardware. That worked out pretty slick. So now I need to get the radiator mounted, then we can get the hood back on. First, I need to go out and see if I can find the hardware I've got to put the radiator on. I haven't seen it for a while. Found them, they're just square blocks of rubber, but they were a little thicker than what I had in there. And since those bolts are carriage bolts, that covers up part of the square part of the bolt, which makes it a little easier to get on there. That's all I was looking for. Well, we're all ready to put the hood back on. My son's here, so I'm going to have him help as opposed to using the hoist. Lower that down on the inside of the radiator. We're good except for there. Thank you. All right, it's just about go time. Hood's back on, fuel system's back together, full of coolant. Let that fill up, and we'll see if she'll run. I even went and put the grill back on it. I knocked it off several months ago, pulling it out. I accidentally dropped it off a little ledge, smashed my muffler. That's another video we're gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to put a new muffler on it. But I knocked the grill off when I was pulling it out and never put it back on. All right, let's see if she'll fire up. Sweet, no leaks, runs fine, sounds better than it did. As far as future videos, yeah, I kind of smashed my muffler. I got a new one ready to go on there, but yeah, dropped it off a rock wall. Future videos, the muffler, I think the manifold is good. I remember Dad putting a new manifold on because it had broke off right there at one point. I tapped around on it with a hammer. It seems solid. So we're going to pull the manifold off. Got some leaks down there from the valve covers. We'll get those fixed. Probably could use a full tune-up. Those wires are really old. Of course, more body work. That'll just be an ongoing thing. One thing I do want to address is the parking brakes. Those deals work, and the brakes work on this really well, but you get them engaged hard enough to hold it, they're sometimes hard to get disengaged. So I'm going to build, I've seen a couple of different ways of doing that with like a lever to hold the parking brake engaged. I'm going to build something like that. Another future project, So if you watched one of my earlier videos, when I had this apart, I put a new thermostat in there. I wanted 180 degree as opposed to the original 160s that go in the hose. Well, I cut one down, made a couple of spacers, put it in the hose, it's working fine. But what I want now is a temperature gauge. Put it right in that spot right there. And there's really no good place to put a temperature gauge, so what I'm going to do is build a little thermostat housing that takes the place of a section of that hose, and it'll clamp together in the middle, hold the thermostat, piece of hose on each end, but it'll also have a fitting toward the bottom to put a temperature sender in, or at least that's my plan. I think I should have enough room up in there, the way the gas tank is. Well, the old girl's an ongoing project, but I have so much fun on this. This is probably one of my most reliable toys. I mean, tools. Don't let my wife hear that I called it a toy. She says I'm playing anytime I'm using it to do work. She says I'm just playing. Oh, also, got to put headlights on. They say it's getting dark sooner now since the time changed last night. Got to have a light on the back, lights on the front. I've got them all. I just need to install them. So be watching for those videos, and that's all I got for now. Catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.